Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, our fellow speakers, and good morning to our audience joining us virtually from around the world. Actually, first of all, I would like to thank our speakers for taking a part of their time to contribute in this panel. Actually, we have a very richly diversified panel colored with different areas of expertise. Second, I want to take this opportunity to highlight the efforts of Insurance Federation of Egypt to support sustainability and the green economy in Egypt. Actually, the IFE has many initiatives to support the green economy in Egypt, including but not limited to establishing a dedicated committee for sustainable insurance, dedicated committee for agriculture insurance, and another committee for microinsurance. Also, I'm pleased to announce that the IFE is working hardly to study establishing a natural peril pool to support the green economy in Egypt and to support the climatic resilience in the Egyptian economy. Today also I would like to announce that IFE already finished designing and the first electric vehicle insurance policy in the Egyptian market, and the policy is being approved by FRA in Egypt to be used by the market to encourage people and the client to go for an electric car, which supporting the concept of sustainability. However, I wouldn't like to say that our work has been done. We have a lot to do in the future, but we have a very clear, crystal clear objectives, and we set the criteria for and benchmarks for the future work on IFE to continue supporting the concept of sustainability and the green economy. I think now it's time to introduce our first speaker, Dr. Hussam Allam. Dr. Hussam Allam is the head of regional director for Sustainable Growth, CEDARE, Center for Environment and Development for Arab Region and Europe. Actually, Dr. Hussam has a very rich experience in the field of sustainability, so I will direct the first question to him. Dr. Hussam, can you kindly tell us the current efforts of e-mobility in general and electric vehicles in particular that are taking place in Egypt, and how your esteemed organization supported these initiatives?
First of all, I'd like to thank the organizer to invite me to this important session. Maybe as participants are all Arabic speaking, we can speak in Arabic, I think.
As you like.
Okay.
Definitely.
So صباح الخير. وطبعا الحقيقه الموضوع اللي احنا بنتكلم فيه ده موضوع المستقبل. انا بس عايز ارجع خطوه واحده لورا، يعني قبل ما نبتدي في الحوارات، ان احنا نهني نفسينا ان احنا من يومين بقينا 8 مليار شخص على الكوكب. و8 مليار شخص على الكوكب دي معناتها ان احنا محتاجين 2 كوكب علشان يوفر الموارد الطبيعيه للناس. يعني العدد 8 مليار ده الكوكب دلوقتي ما يقدرش ان هو يوفر الاكل ولا الشرب ولا الطاقه ولا اي احتياجات من الموارد المتجدده. فطبعا دي مشكله كبيره جدا هتواجه المنطقه كلها وهتواجه العالم كله، لان هيحصل زي ما كان بيحصل زمان حروب واستعمار، لان احنا بنتكلم مشكله كبيره جدا. فطبعا كل ما هنقدر ان احنا نشوف حلول انوفيتيف نقدر نحل بيها مشاكل الموارد الطبيعيه ومشاكل الطاقه، دي اللي هتقدر تخلينا ان احنا نخفف شويه من اثار هذا الازدياد الحاد. فطبعا احنا بنتكلم على التنقل المستدام، والتنقل المستدام العصور اللي فاتت دي كلها كانت قايمه على الوقود الاحفوري اللي هو الناس كلها بتحاول انها تتخلص منه علشان تقلل الانبعاثات، والانبعاثات دي بتاثر طبعا زي ما احنا عارفين في المؤتمر اللي احنا فيه على التغيرات المناخيه، والتغيرات المناخيه ليها اضرار سلبيه بتقلل من انتاجيه الزراعات وارتفاع سطح البحر بيهجر ملايين. فحتى لو احنا عملنا كل حاجه صح برضه لسه عندنا مشكله. عشان كده محتاجين اللي هو الانوفيتيف سوليوشنز. الاي موبيليتي بتخش في هذا الاطار، انت بنحاول ان احنا بنستخدم طاقه ملهاش انبعاثات نهائي على اساس نقدر ان احنا نعمل التنقل باقل انبعاثات ممكنه. طبعا معروف ان التنقل بيمثل 30% من الانبعاثات، فطبعا ان احنا نقدر نحول خطوه بخطوه هذه الانبعاثات، هذه وسائل التنقل الى تنقل كهربائي، ده بيحسن في مكافحه الاثار السلبيه. والحقيقه لو هنبتدي على مصر، هي مصر من الدول القديمه جدا في استخدام المركبات الكهربائيه. يعني اللي كان عايش هنا في السبعينات اكيد فاكر الترولي اللي كان بيمشي في وسط البلد بالكهرباء، المترو الانفاق سوري المترو اللي اتعمل ايام انشاء مدينه او في هذا الوقت ضاحيه مصر الجديده، كان في مترو بالكهرباء بينتقل من العاصمه او من العاصمه اللي هي القاهره طبعا كانت ساعتها للمنطقه النائيه اللي هي كانت اسمها مصر الجديده. فمصر عندها تاريخ في هذا الاطار، ولكن الحقيقه طبعا هو الامور تطورت ان ما بقتش فقط لا غير المركبات اللي هي زي المترو وزي المركبات الترولي وكده، لا ده بقى دخلنا على المركبات الشخصيه. احنا الحقيقه في سيداري تعاوننا مع جهه من الجهات الالمانيه اللي هو فريدريش ايبرت شتاينفلين، دي مؤسسه المانيه، وتعاوننا مع وزاره البيئه في اعداد ورقه للسياسات ازاي مصر تنتروديوس تاني او تدخل تاني المركبات الكهربائيه. احنا بنتكلم على المركبات مش على السيارات. فلما عملنا هذه الدراسه يعني ورقه السياسات لمصر، فحطينا مجموعه من التوصيات، وكانت اول توصيه ان هي لازم يتحول المواصلات العامه اللي هي الاتوبيسات الى الكهرباء، وخاصه ان زي ما يعني الكل عارف ان القاهره معدلات التلوث فيها عاليه جدا، ففي حاجه اسمها اللو زون ايميشنز، المناطق اللي تبقى منخفضه الانبعاثات، ان المركبات اللي تخش في هذه المنطقه لازم تكون منطقه مركبات منخفضه الانبعاثات زي الغاز الطبيعي وزي المركبات الكهربائيه. مصر مشيت مشوار في الغاز الطبيعي كبير، ولكن الحقيقه المرحله القادمه ما فيش حل غير انك لازم تحول المركبات الكهربائيه، لان الحقيقه الغاز الطبيعي زي ما الكل عارف ان كفاءه الغاز الطبيعي في المواتير 20%، كفاءه الغاز الطبيعي في انتاج الكهرباء 60%. فلما نحرق غاز الطبيعي في المركبات احنا بنضيع ثروه كان ممكن تتعمل في البتروكيميكالز، لان ممكن الكميه الغاز اللي هي هتتوفر نتيجه انتاج الكهرباء تخش في البتروكيميكالز اندستري، الصناعات البتروكيميائيه، ويبقى دخل زياده للدوله. مصر بدات فعلا في المشوار الخاص ب الريجوليشنز، التنظيم للقطاع. كان لو من سنتين ما حدش يعرف يسجل سياره في مصر الكهربائيه، كان لازم يروح كل شهر ان هو يبتدي ياخد تصريح يتمد لمده شهر وكل شهر يروح. لا دلوقتي في قانون بيسمح بتسجيل المركبات الكهربائيه. الدوله عملت سياسه للمركبات الخاصه ان هي تعمل اعفاء جمركي للسيارات عشان تشجع ان الناس تقدر تدخل مركبات كهربائيه اكتر. فالحقيقه مصر واخده خطوات كبيره في هذا الاطار. لو احنا بنشوف الدول الثانيه مثلا زي الاتحاد الاوروبي، فهو I think we can need change to English because we have English speaking
we have some non-Arabic
speakers now,
yeah.
participants.
Yeah.
So like the EU, they have their own strategy for by 2030 they were proposing to have 30 million electrical vehicles on roads. I believe the European Union will reach this amount very early than 2030. Thank you.
Thank you. And also, I would like to echo Dr. Hussam that even the tram in Alexandria city is still working with electricity,
Yes.
it's electric based. So, based on your experience, actually, this coming question is very important to insurance companies to understand the risk profile of the electric vehicle. Based on your experience, what are the main challenges and opportunities that face electric vehicle usage and production in Egypt, Dr. Hussam? Dr. Hussam, a question
Me?
for you.
That's me? Again, I thought that's for
No, no,
eventual.
it's okay.
Yeah, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, what are the main challenges and opportunities that face electric vehicle usage and production in Egypt?
Actually, the main challenge that until now there is no production of electrical vehicles in Egypt, but Egypt has a very positive location where the Suez Canal economic zone is considered one of the best locations for navigation coast. So this can have a lot of factories for assembling electrical vehicles. Morocco is number one, I think, now in Africa for producing fuel vehicles. But I think now they have plans to go for electrical. So it might be the right time also for Egypt to start assembling electrical vehicles in Egypt. We can see some practices like the 200 buses that has been used in the COP. Electrical has been assembled in Egypt. But if you are talking about production of 500,000, this need real partners from China, from Europe, to establish their own facilities in the Suez Canal economic zone. Either than this, you'll keep importing electrical vehicles, and the main challenge now is the network of charging. They are still not covering the whole country, especially the electrical vehicles still not long mileage cars, or the long mileage is very, very, very expensive.
Okay. Thank you. Now I have a question for Mr. Ahmed Samir. In your opinion, what do you expect from insurance sector to support the electric vehicle industry in Egypt?
So I think that applies to not just in Egypt but globally as well. So everyone thinks of an EV as a totally different thing to deal with. That includes the end user. So they are really afraid of buying an EV for different reasons. One of them is also there's no specific insurance scheme for an EV or for the battery as well. That's one. Two is also for the dealerships. They don't really bring the vehicles to the country because of what insurance is one of them. They can't really deal with the insurance, how the end user would actually treat the vehicle. And so I think having an insurance scheme that would cover the whole value chain of an EV, not just the vehicle itself again, but the battery. And the battery is a very important issue, because if you look at what happens now to the batteries are very dangerous component in the car. And now any OEM who is actually importing or bringing an EV to the Egyptian market, or any market across the region, they have to be fully reliable for the disposal for the batteries, and that's an extra cost. So that means after end of life of the battery, they have to ship it back to their factories. So that there's a cost and there's emissions associated with this as well. Or they have to find local facilities to recycle or dispose the batteries, which we don't have in the region yet, including Egypt. And that's another point which Dr. Hussam mentioned, the Suez Canal economic zone. It's a very good business opportunity for investors and companies to look at facilities for disposal and recycling of batteries. Because what happens to these batteries, they don't actually fully die. They just the efficiency reduces, and so they are not anymore feasible for the EV usage, but they're very useful for many other use cases. So there's a huge business opportunity for Egypt to be actually the hub for battery recycling, and that also could be a good opportunity for the insurance companies to come and take that risk with the OEMs. So they actually will bring more electric vehicle models, and that would mean. So one of the issues we did a survey back in the UAE, which covered the GCC countries, trying to find out why companies and individuals are not actually going to buy EVs. And one of the top three issues was really the availability of the models, whether it's commercial EVs or passenger EVs. So you have very limited number of models, and once you have, and you have seen this across the globe, once you have the options available for the end user higher, that means higher adoption rates as well. So I think in all of this equation, insurance really plays a very important role to reduce the risk on the importers, the manufacturers to bring their vehicles, and to the dealerships, and also to the end user and the corporate fleet owners as well. So it is an essential component. And again, I'm very happy that Egypt has, I think, with your initiative, it's now the first country in the region to take that initiative and look at the insurance of EVs. So congratulations on this.
Okay, well, thank you for the detailed answer. Also, I have another question for you, Mr. Ahmed. I know that you are working with many international organizations, and especially the UN FCCC Climate Champion Team. So, can you share with us the current global efforts to support the electric vehicles?
Yeah,
Because
so
this will be very helpful for the Egyptian market to understand what is happening globally.
yeah, absolutely. So if you look at the ecosystem now, so we are transforming from a sector that's heavily dominated by 2-3 countries to a sector that there's an opportunity for every single country to localize and build an economy based on. So I think Egypt has taken the initiative that Dr. Sam mentioned, the story of the buses. I think also for retrofitting vehicles, we have an Egyptian company doing this, and many other companies also looking at 2 or 3 wheelers and different initiatives as well. So I think that's a component. So looking at how the economy could actually support this. So we at the climate champions, there's last year at COP26, the zero emission vehicle declaration was launched, which basically any company or organization that signs the declaration, they commit to 100% sales of zero emission vehicles by 2035 in leading markets, 2040 globally. So, and what we have seen that we have now more than 200 organizations signed the declaration. So what we have seen, there's a huge momentum being created around this. We have also another initiative focused on the medium and heavy duty vehicles. So there's an electrification happening across the whole transport spectrum, from even 2-3 wheelers to really medium and heavy duty. So hopefully we have also the good news later today. We'll actually officially launch another initiative, which is the Accelerating to Zero Correlation, which is building on the momentum from the ZEV declaration to really build exchange knowledge between the different governments and the private sector to build on that momentum. So you're all invited. This will be happening at the ABS room, and then we'll have another event here at the same meeting room after. So hopefully all the speakers will join us as well.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ahmed. And I think now it's time to go to the other side of the coin, the insurance industry. Mr. Shakib Abu Zaid, the Secretary General of the GAIF, the General Arab Insurance Federation. Based on the expectations from the industry, which they shared with us, and the characteristics of the electronic vehicle industry, in your opinion, what are the main factors needed to promote a more climate resilience insurance industry in Egypt?
Thank you very much, Dr. Tarek. I think insurance companies and the whole industry needs to operate a mindset change or a kind of cultural revolution. Until now, insurance companies are working mainly on the traditional lines of business, plus some specialty lines. In our region, even the specialty lines are still very limited. I think insurance companies need to think outside the box and go for new lines of business, and especially take into account and work for the financial inclusion. Financial inclusion is a challenge, a huge challenge, but also is an opportunity. For me, if I have to summarize, what I mean by financial inclusion, I think insurance companies should work on providing medical cover to all population. And we have some experience in the Arab world, Egypt, Morocco. We have also Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, etc. I think this needs to be general. We need to provide medical insurance or health insurance to the whole population. This is number one. Number two, concerning agriculture and micro insurance, and both are really needed in our region. We don't have enough insurance covers, enough insurance product for farmers. and this is something which has to be done. Except Morocco, we don't have any other country providing such cover. The micro insurance is still really very limited in the Arab region. Number three is the natural catastrophe. In our region, we have few experience in natural catastrophe insurance product. We have, let's say, in one experience in Algeria. We have one experience in Morocco, which is a little bit advanced after 3 years. And now in Egypt, and I'm happy to hear in Egypt that they are launching a pool, an insurance pool for natural catastrophe. And the last thing is the pensions. Today, when we see the demographics of the Arab world, at least the Arab world, and it's same applies to other part of the world, is the aging population, which which is now a real challenge. But this challenge can be also an opportunity for insurance companies. Life insurance for pensions are still very limited. We have countries, for example, like Saudi Arabia, where the life insurance and pension is less than 1%. To the contrary, we have countries like Egypt or Morocco or Lebanon, where the life insurance is more than 40%. I think this is number one. And companies need to change their mindset. Another aspect which should be also very important in the insurance and for the insurance industry is also the daily practice. In the daily practice, I think big insurance companies or insurance companies now decided not to underwrite anymore, not to accept anymore fossil energy industries like Allianz, like Military or Swiss Re, and this is something very important. I think even on the underwriting on day-to-day business, insurance companies can contribute also to the fight for a better climate or for the climate change and provide insurance product for low-income population.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shakib. And if we would like to talk more specific about the electric vehicle, how can the GAFE support promoting the electric vehicle policies in other Arab countries for the sake of the climatic resilience as well?
I think we, as a General Arab Insurance Federation, what we are doing, we have started 3 years ago thinking about and working on the inclusion, the financial inclusion. And for this, we organized one seminar on financial inclusion, two seminars with the Insurance Federation of Egypt on health insurance. Also, we organized two webinars on natural catastrophe and modeling for natural catastrophe. This is a very important aspect. Natural catastrophe are very important because the direct consequence of the climate change, in fact, is the frequency, the increasing frequency and severity of natural catastrophe. And what we are trying now to do is to promote an initiative, what we call the Arab Initiative for Natural Catastrophe. And now, concerning the electrical vehicle, the Arab experience on electrical vehicle is still doesn't exist, honestly speaking. We have, even in countries like Morocco or UAE or Saudi Arabia, where we see increasing number of vehicles, we don't have specific policies. I think we should, and maybe take the Egyptian example and try to promote a kind of common policy. And also we can share also the practice. Our role as a Arab Federation, in fact, is to spread the knowledge, to share the experience. If we can share the Egyptian experience with other countries or the Moroccan experience or the UAE experience, it will be good. But for the time being, to be honest with you, our efforts are still limited comparatively to the challenge, comparatively to the requirement for, let's say, for a greener, let's say, economy, for a greener industry.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shakib. And now from insurance to the reinsurance.
Yes.
So Mr. Gamal Saq, the regional director in Africa Re. The question is, what do you think the role of the reinsurance industry to support the climate risk mitigation, especially in Africa? And what would be the appetite of the reinsurer for the electric vehicle in the future?
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Tariq, for giving me this opportunity. I want to say that reinsurance industry is not far from the insurance in terms of how strategic is the environmental sustainability. And maybe let me stress here that already there is the PSI initiative, which stands for Principle for Sustainable Insurers Initiative, which was launched in 2012 and present the largest collaboration between the United Nations environmental program and the insurance industry. And after 10 years now, there are more than 220 insurance and reinsurance organizations are member to this initiative. And those 220 organizations present almost 1/3 of the world premium. And they are managing about $15 trillion of the of managed assets. Of course, if I want to speak more about this initiative, because it's really growing everywhere, it works on 4 principles. The first principle is to embed in the decision-making environment within the insurance and reinsurance company the ESG issues. So when you form your strategy, when you form your underwriting risk appetite, when you form your investment strategy, you are trying to assure that you are working within a very clear ESG framework. And already, if I will speak about Africa Re is the leading reinsurer in Africa. Of course, we are considering this very, very positively. But the issue, frankly speaking, that you cannot take more aggressive approach more than what the governments and the economies in the African countries are doing. But I want to complete the 4 principles. So for the first one is to embed within the company decision-making the ESG issues. And maybe I need also to explain that even you need to do a different and better claim service to ESG, to clients or to industries where they are complying more with the ESG issues. Also, the second, and even you do it even with the training of your staff, and it should be even embedded within their KPI and within their rewarding system, that all of them shall try to provide a product, pricing, underwriting for where the product is serving an ESG compliant business. The second one is to assure that we are working together as insurance and reinsurance with our client and business partner to raise awareness of ESG issues. The third one, that we will be working together with our governments, okay, to and other, of course, stakeholders, to promote widespread action across ESG initiative within the countries where we are working. And the fourth one, we will all the time demonstrate accountability and transparency in your regulatory disclosing publicity. And maybe that's why you will find many insurance and reinsurance companies right now are doing what they call sustainability report. Usually it is done on annual basis, where they explain how they are complying with the sustainability. For example, investment, how much they are complying with the ESG in their investment portfolio, how they are compliant as it for underwriting, how you are complying even when it goes to even your procurement. You are trying to even your supplier is compliant with the ESG. And I think it's not a secret that right now there are many reinsurers who don't write anymore any fuel-related risks. But frankly speaking, this is somehow a bit challenging because you cannot be more advanced than your regulator, or rather than your own economies, because at the end you have been established to serve the economies and the business need in these markets. But if there is not yet a clear position toward the ESG, certainly it provides you some challenge to start implementing it. Yeah, for example, if as a reinsurer I decided in one of the economies I will not write any more, say, energy risk.
Okay, but
Why?
sorry for interrupting,
Sorry, yes,
but
please.
I have a very interesting question here.
Please
Do you think that the limitations and the restrictions set by insurance and reinsurance companies may encourage the industry and the economy to change their mindset and to change their technology, or will not help? Yani, it's better if the industry and the economy will not start quickly. Can insurance industry put pressure to do or not?
But yes and no. Yes, to some extent. Yeah, for example, right now many reinsurers take position of not providing reinsurance to energy business. The issue that there are still other reinsurers who are providing.
Yeah.
Let's say my company decide, okay, we are committed to the ESG, but if we step out of this business, the issue that it still continue a very present a core business in many of the countries in Africa, and on the other side there are other reinsurers who are still supporting this. But somehow it also you are concerned about it might create some negative reaction toward you. يعني that's why I think the better thing is that to address the ESG issues on a regulatory level, then on the insurance level, and of course the reinsurance level. But on the other side, there are areas that you can do as a reinsurer without harming anyone. Something like, for example, investment. You will decide, I will not invest in energy business. I will invest in activities that promote more environmental protection. Something maybe like in more electrical vehicle manufacturing, maybe in hydrocarbon business, maybe in solar energy solution. You can do also this for your own procurement. But when it comes to underwriting, frankly speaking, also providing product. Yeah, we totally encourage. Yeah, let's say even in as a reinsurer, there are a lot of energy, which I call it better alternative energy. Yeah, and right now you have the solar energy solution. We already are providing a very comprehensive coverage for the construction and operational of electrical, wind, hydrocarbon, and even for some of the new types, something like the ocean energy, which is dependent on the kinetic, power from the sea, from the wave of the sea, and also there is what they call the bioenergy. These are all new type of alternative energy where the insurance and reinsurance are providing insurance solution to it. On the electrical vehicle, I think also we are working closely with insurance company, in providing the insurance protection to them. But the only challenge that usually who should start first? If I speak about, already there are some countries who are providing the electrical vehicle insurance. But the challenge you have is still low demand. Low demand is there. Still, you don't have enough production, or there is not enough. There is hardly any repair facilities in the country. Still, you don't have, even as mentioned, battery is almost 40 to 50% of the value of the vehicle.
Yeah.
How this can be managed. Also, you have also a lot of challenge on the data itself. يعني, right? And even, by the way, that's why even internationally, if you go to Europe or to the States, you will find most of the time that the insurance cost of electrical vehicle is a bit higher than the traditional car, because there is a lack of data. Still, you don't have enough information. But usually, by time when the number of electrical vehicle grows, so instead of speaking about few hundreds, you are going to tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. Of course, you will have more data, and then you can really provide cheaper solution. I think the insurance and the insurance are working very closely in supporting the sustainability of the environment, and we are always ready to discuss any product for any environmental solution that is starting up.
Thank you, Gamal. Well, I think this lack of information so far, because we don't have real experience on the ground. Actually, when we designed the motor insurance policy for electric vehicle in the Federation, we make many visits. We have meetings with experts, engineers, to understand the profile of the risk, especially regarding to battery and the cable. So I will have a question for Mr. Ahmed Samir now, because he has to catch another event. Can you give us insights into the significant role of the electric vehicle can play in emission reduction and the climate mitigation in the Egyptian economy?
Yeah, of course. So road transportation in general contributes globally over 20% of the global emissions. And the number of vehicles you have now, or that emissions you have now, by 2050, if you continue in the same slope, you will double this emissions, you will double the number of vehicles. So that means there's an urgent need to actually decarbonize this, and also to reduce. So when we speak about transportation, we have to look what we call it the avoid, shift, and improve. So it's not just moving people to electric vehicles, but how can we reduce the transportation of people in general? So people actually move less or use more active mobility, whether biking, cycling, walking. And then how can we also move people from using their own private vehicles to use more shared and public transportation modes? That's the second stage of it. And then the third component, what we have been focusing on in the discussion, is the electrification of transportation. And that does not only apply to passenger electric vehicles, but also to public transportation. How can we electrify public transportation? And Egypt has been doing a great job in actually doing new projects and also retrofitting the old fleet of public transportation, and even applying this to 2, 3-wheelers, and basically any mode of transportation could be electrified. So there's an opportunity here for not just to reduce emissions and improve air quality, and accordingly the health of the people. And there's actually an opportunity cost for this. So if we actually continue with the same, there's a cost of on the healthcare system to actually deal with the patients, etc. So if you look at this from a comprehensive point of view, there's actually a cost saving in other sectors as well. And that's why the government needs to work together on this, not just as a Ministry of Transport, but all the different transport ministries and stakeholders. And the second opportunity, there's an economic opportunity, and we talked a little bit about how local manufacturing of EVs could be happening, whether for fully manufacturing buses, vehicles, but also other things across the value chain. We talk about infrastructure, charging stations, and we have been seeing some initiatives in this. So I think there's an environmental opportunity, there's an economical opportunity, and there's, I think on the long term as well, there's a very good opportunity for Egypt to be the hub for manufacturing. So we have seen Morocco as a good successful case study. We would like to see Egypt as successful as Morocco, and maybe even better given the location and the different incentives that we naturally have. So hopefully we can capitalize on this opportunity.
Thank you very much.
And thank you. I have to
Thank
go
you
to
for
that
your
event,
time and
thank you
for
much.
joining our event. Okay, getting back to Dr. Hussam. Actually, if I understood Mr. Gamal correctly, there is a lot of stakeholders in the electronic vehicle. Some parts are well developed and other parts lag behind. So how can we encourage more collaboration and synergy between the government, federations, and other stakeholders to remove these barriers in implementation?
Actually, the challenge that there is no ownership for this sector. Like there is a lot of fathers for the sector. The Ministry of Interior is going for the regulations of the cars. The Ministry of Industry, they just announced like strategy for cars in Egypt, cars of production in Egypt. The Ministry of Environment, they are talking about the low emissions for the electrical vehicles. So what I think is that there is a need to have like a council or an organization that's responsible for this sector, not only just with a small focus on its activity, but as the way of introducing e-mobility in Egypt. Because as I'm saying, it's not only passenger cars. Tuk-tuk can be electrical tuk-tuk. You can see the scooters. We can see a lot of means of transportation that can be electrical in no time. In 2 years, you can find a major shift. But if there is no regulation, if there is no technical support, if there is no infrastructure, like Ministry of Electricity is responsible for the infrastructure of the charging. So this is the main challenge: how to make them all in one group or one task force that they all work together, which is a major. I think it need to be like a prime minister committee for the introduction of e-vehicles in any types of them.
Well, actually, I think this is extremely important because at the end of the day, demand for insurance is a derived demand from the main activities, industrial and the commercial. So we have to have this demand to be able to support the main concept. Okay, again about insurance, Mr. Shakib, I think there is يعني good experience in many countries over the world of for insuring the electric vehicle. How can we benefit from this experience or the global experience in our local market? What are the main lessons learned to be shared with the Egyptian market to take it into consideration?
Thank you for this very interesting and difficult question. I think, as I said before, in the Arab world, I think we have very limited experience. However, all over the world now, we can see, for example, in a country like China, today, electrical car are a very important stake of the whole cars produced in China or used in China. In other countries like Western Europe or even North America, we do see the other cars. I think what we have to do, in fact, learning is always a curve, and we need to start from the beginning. The beginning, in fact, is to build our database. As you said earlier, we need to have meetings. We need to learn from engineers what are the main risks. For example, Mr. Gamal Sakhr was talking about the batteries, which can represent something like 40% of the car value. I think we need to know all this aspect, and then today we are part of the whole insurance industry. We can always ask our partners, especially the international reinsurer, what are the best practice. I think we should not reinvent the wheel. we need to start somewhere, and we need to start from the experience in Europe, the experience in North America, the experience in China. Today, we don't have enough data, we don't have enough cars to build a statistical experience, because insurance is based on law of large number and the past statistic. We don't have the numbers, and we don't have also the experience. I think we can rely on the experience in Europe and the experience in it. How? I think insurance companies are always using their reinsurer to transfer the knowledge to them. When we started doing, for example, PV, political violence policies, when we started doing, let's say, fine arts policies or high value cars, etc., etc., reinsurance were providing the underwriting guidelines. Reinsurance were providing all the information, the required information to build a database. I think for the electrical vehicle, we can do exactly the same. Use the existing experience, the existing statistics, and progressively build our database. I don't see any other. We cannot start from the scratch or reinvent the experience. The experience exists. We have to start from the existing experience, and I think today, reinsurer will be offering their services, will be offering their product. At least what we can do and what we should do, I'm sorry to say it, it's copy and paste. Copy and paste. Now it might be a problem. We might face a problem in terms of pricing, because the pricing in Europe it's much higher than the pricing here in our region. But definitely for the electrical vehicle, as long as we do not have the database, as long as we don't have, let's say, the large number, there is no risk mitigation. There is not enough risk to do a real risk mitigation. I suppose in the short to medium term, maybe the premium will be higher comparatively to existing petrol or other cars. In the future, and I think the way for the future, in fact, if we want to encourage the electrical vehicle, definitely we need to do a segmentation. What I mean by segmentation, let's say in 5 years, for example, or 10 years, we need to reach a point where electrical vehicle will pay less insurance premium comparatively to existing traditional cars.
Yeah.
And this is the only way, to build our experience.
Yeah, actually, I agree because the insurance market role not only to provide policy, but to provide some incentives to encourage people to use this environmental friendly vehicle. Actually, about the experience in the committee of the motor committee in the federation, we studied many market wording and policy wording and products to be able to identify what is the most appropriate to the Egyptian market. However, I still have a question about incentives because, again, an insurance market usually follows the reinsurance market. So my question to Mr. Gamal Sa, how can the reinsurance market support the insurance market, not in term in capacity only, in term in incentives to encourage people to use this car in a state of the conventional car using the other fuel?
Okay. Well, I think reinsurers usually, our business is data analytics. And frankly speaking, if we would have enough information that says that working more and more in providing the electrical or the insurance of electrical vehicle is more safer, certainly we will try to promote it to other insurance company. We will try to share with them our knowledge or know-how from other markets that are providing the same product. But I believe the challenge we are facing in our region, I'm speaking about the Middle East overall, that even not only, by the way, in Egypt, even in Bahrain, even in UAE, that still the challenge of the high value of spare parts, the lack of repair facilities, actually provide you a very big challenge on pricing, and the product is there. We agree we don't have any issue with the product, but can we provide a cheaper one? I think at the end we are part of the overall system. Yani, for example, sorry, I will get back to the same issue on the sustainability. If the government, if the country are not, yani, let me quote an example. Let's say in any of the Middle East countries, if you decide as reinsurer, I will not write any more energy business in this country, and the economy is very and extensively dependent on the production.
But
Let's say you will say, I will not write any more cement factories that are polluting the environment, and you are not providing it. It will create, I think, even for the direct insurance company, because and also the insurance company is, I'm sorry.
Sorry, but I think this is not the case in Egypt, because in Egypt, actually, the government has a very enthusiastic plan to encourage people to use the electric car, and they will
Yes.
establish about 3,000 charging stations for the electric car in the upcoming months. I think there is a clear strategy from the government to encourage this business. So again, how can the reinsurer support the market to do the same with the clients?
Okay, based on the implementation. Yani, let's say after few months, 1 year, how much electric vehicle will be running in the streets? How much will be the cost of different spare parts in the what is the type and nature of the battery itself? Because there are a lot of technology right now in batteries. There are some of the batteries that can live up to 15 years, and some of the batteries that can survive just for 1 or 2 years. So I think it's how it will be implemented, how many vehicles will be run in the streets, how many repair facilities will be there. Again, as I mentioned, we as a reinsurer, you should feel that, okay, the infrastructure is there, the data is there. Then you can promote the solution with insurance company to provide a better product, encourage better pricing to the clients.
Thank you. Actually, it was my last question to Mr. Gamal. So now we will open the questions for the floor, if there is any question. Okay, so I have to thank you again for your time and for contributing in this very important workshop, and hope to see you again in our IFE events. And also I would like to thank all attendees, either physically or virtually. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.